Hi and welcome to Hihu, and in this video we'll be looking at Spec Ops The Line, a game that isn't that old, but it isn't that new either. Released in June of 2012, the game is your standard cover-based military shooter, or at least it presents itself in that way. Normally we look at older games and compare them to modern ones, but what about games in between? They still need to be mentioned, so I'm going to talk about how this game holds up when compared to newer and older titles. The game, I would say, is pretty underrated. It's often recommended on places like Reddit, but the thing that makes this game great isn't in its actual gameplay. Whilst it's couch-worthy fun, the thing that makes this game great is the story and the message it sends, putting choice into your hands. But the thing about choice is that no choice is generally a good one. There are very few times in games where that happens. I'm a massive fan of Mass Effect, but those games are so black and white with the way it presents itself with the concept of choice. But we'll get into the choice system later. Starting off, you were introduced to the game's setting. Dubai has been subject to major catastrophic sandstorms, causing it to be practically deadly to live in. The majority of the city has been evacuated, but a few thousand migrant workers and refugees who were left behind. Colonel Conrad volunteered himself and his squad called the Damned 33rd to help the relief efforts in Dubai. He tried to evacuate the remainder of the city but failed, leaving a distress signal. You play as Captain Walker, voiced by Nolan North, alongside his comrades Adam and Lugo. They are in Dubai to confirm the status of the Damned 33rd and Colonel Conrad, as the distress signal has been on loop for a few days. You come across some American hostile armed soldiers that call themselves insurgents, and you go against your orders to exactly find out what happened in Dubai. The game is quick to place you into combat and introduce you to the simple mechanics of the game. This game is your standard base shooter, and it's really a walk in the park. You often see this as a major criticism of the game, and I get it. The cover system can be a little bit clunky, and the squad commands don't always work, but it's still pretty damn enjoyable. The game is post Gears of War, Mass Effect and Uncharted, but the clunkiness is probably more similar to Mass Effect 1 and 2. But by clunky, it isn't bad. It's still plenty fun mowing down dudes. I wouldn't say it's a big enough mechanic to say it's present all the time, but the use of sand was pretty unique, and I would classify this as environmental kills. Shooting in windows to allow your enemies to drown in sand was pretty fun and a rewarding feature. Throwing grenades only to disturb sand was pretty cool whilst running from cover to cover too. Maybe it's just me though, I don't know. I think the thing that made the combat so fun sometimes was the banter and the music. Early on you were introduced to a DJ who plays some awesome music and taunts you. Sounds fucking silly, and it is, but hey, I think the first song they played in combat was Hush by Deep Purple, and the soundtrack has a few Black Angels songs, which was a pleasant surprise for me as they're one of my all-time favorite bands, and to have their pumping psychedelic tunes whilst mowing down people has never been so satisfying. Another thing with the banter is how Walker changes throughout the game. You might be shooting at dudes at the start yelling, "I don't want to do this," as you were shooting at armed American forces, but eventually Captain Walker is yelling this.
Fucking stay down! Keep him off me for a second!
The banter between Walker and his squad mates also take a similar journey throughout the game. They might not agree with each other or the choices that you have made, or they just generally reacting to the fucked up things that are happening around them. The way Walker changes isn't as a consequence of your choices either. Your choices in the grand scheme of things don't exactly mean shit, and I'm not talking about Mass Effect don't mean shit. I mean regardless of what you do, it's all terrible. Now choice here doesn't present itself like most games. Yes, it does have your should I shoot the bad guy or save the hostages type situation, but there are times where Walker makes choices and as the player you don't really think twice about what you are doing, you just kind of do it. And where the game shines is placing a mirror in front of the player and sends the message, you just did this horrible thing and you didn't even think twice. Have you ever thought about what you were doing and who you might be killing when you were playing these types of games? And I really think that's a cool and neat message to send in a game, because most of the time you might be playing a military shooter or any shooter really, and you just kill people without thinking. I'm gonna leave as much story detail out of this, but the ending has to be one of the most memorable endings I've experienced in a game. It took everything I just experienced in this short 6-7 hour period and flipped it on its head. Not only have I been fucked with this entire game, time and time again, and constantly being shat on, but the game takes one final blow and changes everything, and it really leaves a lasting impression. and that's why I put this game as one of my all-time favorite games, or at least for now. Whilst the combat is rather generic, the story and the journey Walker and his squad mates take is one to remember for a long time. I'm not exactly sure what to compare this game to though. I just want you to play it and just tell me what you thought. I mean, yeah, it's your standard cover-based shooter, but the story is something I've never really experienced before, and I'm excited that someone might pick up this game and try and make something similar. And I would say in terms of cover-based shooter where the tone of the game is similar, Max Payne 3 is a runner-up. I remember playing that game and everything was kind of shit as well. I played Spec Ops: The Line and Binary Domain back-to-back, and I can recommend playing that game too. It's not the same in terms of tone, it's your fast-paced standard Sega cover shooter, but it has some really interesting concepts in there too. Spec Ops: The Line goes for around $30, and yes, I can recommend you buy it at that price. However, when it's on sale, it goes roughly down to $8, so if you can buy it nice and cheap, do it. It's an enthralling, edge-of-your-seat game, and it's not that long of a game, but man, does this game just keep on pumping things at you. I get the impression sometimes that people just think that this is just standard Medal of Honor, Call of Duty type game, and I don't really like those games. They just don't do anything for me. But there's something about this game that I just can't put past. So if you think that this looks fairly generic, please think twice and give this a go. What do you think of Spec Ops: The Line if you've played it? How did you feel about the ending, and what did you think about the journey getting there? What did you think about that really fucking bad thing that you did mid-game? Leave your thoughts and comments below. If you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, hit the like and sub button. If there's any games you want me to review, just tell me. This is Shawnee Maurice from Hihu. Thanks for watching.